Well, I love tricks that seem impossible but are possible. That's sort of almost my specialty in a lot of ways. One person described this trick to me over the phone, and I thought it seemed possible, but I didn't see how anybody could do it. He said he had seen somebody with a piece of clothesline and a nut attached to it, an iron nut attached to it, and he said he was flicking it into the air with one hand and tying knots in the rope with one hand. And I thought, tying knots with one hand, that sounds really hard. So the first thing I did was I went outside and I got a piece of clothesline, and I found a nut, and I started trying the stunt. And I thought, it doesn't seem possible, but I just started throwing the rope at the nut and thinking, well, how is this possible? I don't even know what I'm doing. I just heard it described. And I kept doing it until, lo and behold, I did it. It was just one of those things. The rope wants you to tie a knot in it. It's one of those things that seems kind of impossible, but that anybody can actually do. It's very interesting, and I'd be hard-pressed to describe to you how I actually do it, by throwing the rope at that nut over and over again. And at any rate, I want to do it one more time, but it's not letting me. But I have another trick that a friend of mine showed me. Involves a coat hanger. There, we did it one more time. I was going to feel unsatisfied if I didn't do it one more time. Thank you, rope. All right, another trick that somebody showed me some years back. Or no, she described it to me. It was described. She said that her mother, when her mother was in college in the 40s, it was a very common fad to take wire coat hangers and to bend them and then to put pennies on the end and to spin them around in the air. And the pennies would stay on the end of the coat hanger. And we both laughed about this, and we thought, wow, that's a great stunt. It totally doesn't seem possible. And then I was at home later on, and I thought, well, maybe that trick really does work. And, it was before YouTube. You couldn't just look up coat hanger trick with a penny on the end. And so I got a coat hanger, and I got a penny, and I began futzing around with it. And in fact, I realized it is possible to balance a penny on the end of a coat hanger, which is really weird that would be possible, but in fact, there it is. And people always say, kids sometimes say, oh, well, it's magnetic. Well, pennies aren't really magnetic. There's nothing to hold it on there except for good old gravity. But let me balance it again, and I'll put it on the end there. Tails down is nice. It's a little flatter there. That seems pretty balanced. And then, first thing you do is lift it up and down just to get a feel for that weight of that penny. And then the next thing you do is to try to give it one solid revolution in the air. So one time, whoosh, and there it is. It's still there, which is kind of amazing when you think about it, that it didn't go anywhere. And then you try to go a couple of times. Now, one of the reasons I love this stunt is if the stunt is working or is not working, it looks just about the same because you can't really see the penny on there anymore. Our eyes just don't go fast enough, and that's a beautiful thing in my mind. Another reason I love it is there's this minimum speed it has to have, and I love that feeling of the minimum speed, keeping the penny on there, and that it stays on if you keep that minimum speed up. Now, my father, when he was in 8th grade in the mid-1930s in Columbus, Ohio, took aeronautics, and so everybody in 8th grade learned how to fly a plane, which is kind of amazing when I think about it. And they learned how to fly a plane, and he was obsessed with the idea of the minimum flight speed, that the plane had to go a certain speed through the air or it would just plummet to the ground. And this, in fact, has a minimum rotational speed for the penny to stay on there. If you don't go a certain speed, it will fall off. But if you can slow it down just right, the penny will still be there, which is amazing when you think about it. And that's all.